Yo, it's Al. A while ago on the channel, I did a video where I played Starfield for 90 minutes. Nobody watched it because A, it's Starfield, and B, it was 2 hours too long for Starfield content. It's linked in the description below. Right off the bat, this is not going to be a hit piece on Bethesda or Starfield, but it's not going to be a suck job for them either. I've played Starfield for 90 minutes. That is not enough for a full review or anything, so I'm just going to summarize what my first thoughts were and my initial impressions from what little of the game I've played. Now I know what you're wondering. Why 90 minutes? Well, every other Bethesda game I've played has had me hooked in 90 minutes. I'm only counting their games, the ones they developed, so I'm not including stuff like New Vegas, which they published. Oh, I love New Vegas, but that's a different video for a different day. Now, I feel most modern Bethesda fans probably came in because of Fallout 4 and Skyrim, and I'm not trying to say anything about anyone, but just given how much money those games made and how much bigger they were than their predecessors, I just feel like they sort of made their respective series a lot more popular, and we have a Fallout TV show now, so I feel like a lot of the modern fans came in because of the most recent games. And just to give you an idea of my relationship with Bethesda in terms of gaming, I've played Elder Scrolls 1, 3, 4, 5, as well as Fallout 3 and 4, and then I played all the DLC for Elder Scrolls 3, 4, and 5, as well as all the DLC for Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. It's making my head spin. Needless to say, I've played a lot of Bethesda games. I've got the Platinum Trophy in a few of them. I love their games, okay? So this isn't coming from someone who's just gonna hate, okay? This is coming from someone who loves the company. In fact, before Fallout 4 came out, all my friends said I was the biggest Bethesda fan out of everyone we knew. And before I went back to post-secondary school for my second degree, I actually wanted to apply at Bethesda. I wanted to work for them. So Bethesda, if you're seeing this, hire me, and together we can bring in a new golden age for you. Or at the very least, I just want some of that Todd Howard money, or some of that sweet-ass hair he's got. I mean, look at his hair. God, yeah. Just look at it. I just want to put my toes in that man's hair.
Who's laughing now? Yes, I was in the chess club.
He definitely has the haircut of somebody who, for the first 14 years of his life, his mom used his head to brush her pussy hair. I know I've joked about Starfield before, and if you take my jokes seriously, why? I'm not going to just love this game because I'm a Bethesda fan, and I'm not going to just hate it either. I'm going to give it a fair chance, and I did, and this is what I thought of it. So going into this game, I feel like the general mood was, this is going to be an instant classic. It's a 10 out of 10 game, and Todd Howard is a god. I'm exaggerating a bit, but honestly, that's how I felt the general mood was going into the game. And I've heard some people, some defenders of it, say, oh, it was overhyped and people hyped it too much or whatever, and that excuses all the criticisms or whatever, which I don't think is a really good or intellectual argument either, but no, the hype for this game was insane. And then when it came out, I feel like it didn't live up to expectations. I didn't hear a lot of people say anything bad about the game at first, and then later they did, and I feel, not for everybody, But for some people, it was just, I don't want to say anything bad because I don't want people to hate on me, so I'm just going to try to remain neutral. I didn't really hear anybody say good or great things about it, and I didn't really hear anybody say anything bad about it. And to me, that it just felt like, and it just came across as, ooh, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to like get hate or get involved or in anything, but nobody was really saying you have to play this game, and the release did not hit as hard as like Skyrim's release did, Fallout 3's, like, you know what I mean? It's just, it came out and then people sort of wanted to move on from it. At least that's the impression I got from it. And what makes me mad about it is there was this game called The Outer Worlds. Now, the average person is stupid, so I'm going to have to explain stuff to you in case you're stupid. Outer Worlds, all my friends, and I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it was a Starfield ripoff. It takes years to make video games. When Starfield was announced, pretty much Outer Worlds was like getting released. So again, if you're stupid, you have to understand it takes a while to make games. Everybody said, oh, it's just a ripoff. So Starfield was in pre-production. So how can a game that for the most part was already done and it was just awaiting release, how did that rip off a game that was later announced but didn't go into production until 2 or 3 years after that? The game didn't exist. Like, come on, people. Whether you liked Starfield or not, whether you do want to play it, you haven't played it, you're never going to play it again, give The Outer Worlds a shot. I think it's a really good game. It is a bit of a smaller game. It was made by a smaller studio, but it's compact and it's tight. There's a lot of replayability. I think it's a good game. I don't know when else I get to talk about it, so definitely check it out. I feel like Starfield, a lot of people were just brushing Outer Worlds sort of off to the side or under the rug or whatever because of Starfield, and now that it's out, like, Outer Worlds was better received than Starfield, so go check it out. Truth be told, my trust in Bethesda was sort of waning after I played Fallout 4 and after I watched Bethesda stumble their way through the release of Fallout 76. I just felt like, I don't know, I don't mean to hate on Fallout 4. I think that game does deserve, at least for me, a separate video dedicated to it, but my trust in the company was waning, like I said. And it's nothing against Starfield. Starfield could have just been Mariah Carey in the shower, and as much as I would have loved it, I just didn't think Bethesda was going to deliver. So let's go back to Fallout 76 for a second. Remember when Todd Howard came out on stage? He had that really like sexy ass tight shirt, and you could see his like barrel chest and his huge Schwarzenegger like biceps, and he says, "It just works." Okay. Fallout 76 used the same engine as Fallout 4. So you'd think Fallout 76 would run as well as a fully patched Fallout 4. And it was the most unplayable game at launch they ever released. It was their most broken game they ever released. They're going backwards. Okay? Like, how does your game engine get worse over time? How? Every other game company, every other game studio, engines get better. But not for Bethesda. After Fallout 76, it was just like, how you've made games with this engine before, and now you're just releasing stuff that's not even playable. You're going backwards. I don't know what Hot Rod Todd and his merry band of hair specialists are doing there at Bethesda, but for those of you who don't know, actually, a new Fallout was actually announced, Fallout 95. And because Bethesda's going backwards, if you want to play the game, you're going to need Windows 95. So going into this game is just, I wasn't excited for it. and I only really played it because of the channel. I didn't want to pre-order it, and I didn't want to just spend the money to just blindly buy it without playing it first. So the game starts off like any other Bethesda game. You slowly come to, somebody's talking to you, you gotta listen to what they say, and then you just sort of walk around listening to somebody talk to you. Then we're in some mine-looking area, and I swear, this is a vault from the Vault Tech Workshop DLC for Fallout 4. Sure, it looks a bit different, but it feels like it's the same assets, just in worse lighting. But whatever. Then I have a laser and I'm mining rocks. Which is fine, but it reminded me of mining ore in Skyrim. And I really hope that that type of video game busy work mining thing isn't something you're going to have to do a lot in the game. I hate video game busy work. When I say video game busy work, I mean filler. You know, stuff that just meant to pad out a game's running time. One of the best examples I can think of is Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing that you can go fight Ganon right away, but one of the consequences of that is that narratively speaking, nothing else you do is important. It does help to go save the champions, but you don't have to. It's not required, it's not really part of the story, so that's just side stuff. And even if you do it, I play through the game. The cinematics you get is just the same cinematic, but a different perspective for each sage that you get. That's basically it. And then look at the gameplay loop. If you've played through Tears of the Kingdom, like I got all the shrines, I went through the depths, I got all that, and it was boring. You're just doing stuff to further your ability to do that stuff. You fight enemies, they get stronger, so they deal more damage, they take more damage, but the more you defeat, you collect resources, so now you can deal and take more damage. Combat is terrible in that game. You hit an enemy, and there's like a group of 6 to 12 enemies. So you hit one enemy, they go flying 20 feet, you gotta chase after them, hit them again, and you go through, what, like 1, 2, maybe 3 items because they break. And then that's all you do. You go through the depths, and then what do you get at the end? Nothing. And then you need a battery to build stuff, and it goes off like a certain charge, and you can extend that charge, but what's the point? By the end of the game, like once you have a maxed out battery like I do, you can just fast travel anywhere you want because you have all the shrines. It's pointless. I would never replay Tears of the Kingdom. There is absolutely no point, and there is no joy that I would get from replaying it. It's just, oh, I'm just grinding for nothing. No narrative reason. You don't get any good rewards for doing anything. That is a good example of just bad game design and video game filler. Or look at smithing in Skyrim. I actually thought this was a really cool mechanic, but it was a little bit ridiculous because it's like you had to find the right mine, you had to improve your smithing and all that, but then you needed to collect so much ore to make ingots, and if you wanted a full set of armor plus the weapons and stuff, it's like you needed like 20 to 40 ingots at least, depending on the armor. It was just so ridiculous. Like, remember Eminem? He had a rap song about it, didn't he? As a miner, I mined in the mines of Skyrim. It was a boar mining ore, being enslaved by the Thalmor. From Riften to Solitude, I'd be mining with an attitude. Be swinging pickaxes to save time as I committed a crime. My punishment was I had to stay in line. I was a slave, spinning rhymes, working inside the mine. Will the real Dragonborn please stand up? Please stand up. Something like that. I'm not really much of a rapper. Ugh. I am covered in candy wrappers, though. But much like my rhymes, Bethesda did do a good job there. I will say, Bethesda is good at making video game intros, just to give you a rough idea of, the mechanics and stuff. So, let's see what the rest of the game is like. So after that, you find a thing. And much like women when they see Too Hot to Trot, Todd Howard's Wabbajack, touching it causes so much excitement, you pass out. So the annoying people from before, well, they're back, and they're waking you up. Obviously, they're not really going to explain anything, and this whole part is just designed to get to the character creator.
Ring any bells? Any of this look familiar?
Normally, I don't really care about creating characters in games like this. This does look pretty in-depth, but I mostly randomize or use a stock character in games. It seems pointless to me to customize the head and face when you're mostly going to have headgear on, armor to cover your body, or if you're looking through a first-person perspective. So I don't spend too much time customizing my character. I tried to pick some traits for just exploring. Nothing seemed too exciting or I had to pick it. It's nice, but I feel not playing the game before and not knowing the mechanics and systems, I didn't really know what perks would be good or bad. The game seemed to do a good job of explaining them, but I feel on subsequent playthroughs, that's when these are really important, or I'll know which ones to pick. So I make a dollar store flop Howard, and we get to a cutscene, then we get going. And now we get to the part of the game that I feel upset a lot of people. The whole pronoun thing. Listen, I'm not an imbecile. I don't have the emotional intelligence of a fly. I don't have the brain power of a wall. So this whole pronoun thing, I don't get why it upsets people. Like, I honestly don't. I don't care what your gender is, your pronouns, your skin color. None of that matters to me. If you have a sense of humor and you're a cool person, let's hang out. If not, well, that's cool too. But to get upset about it, I'm just like, man. Like, did you flunk out of clown college? Because I don't understand why you're trying so hard to get people to laugh at you if you get upset about it. So I had to pause the game because I had to equip something. And to be honest, I found the menu a little bit annoying to navigate. It's not that it looked bad or anything, it just didn't really look intuitive. But the biggest problem was I didn't know what to press. Now, I've never owned an Xbox console, so I wasn't sure what buttons were what. And when the screen says press X, well, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft have their X buttons in different locations than each other. On a side note, why do video game developers, console manufacturers, why do they put buttons in different places? Listen. Before you say, oh, it's proprietary, I went to school for business. I get all that and I understand that. But just as a gamer, it's so frustrating that, either some games or some consoles, whatever, it's the buttons are all different, they're all over the place. At the very least, why can't I just map my controls in, every video game nowadays? Some do let you nowadays than they did before, but it's just, I've never owned a Microsoft console, so when I'm playing it and it says press X, it's I'm thinking, okay, Nintendo's X button or PlayStation's, and it's different buttons do different things. Just standardize it, okay? So that way, if you're new to a console or a certain video game franchise or whatever, you're not lost. It's annoying picking up a new game or a new console and feeling like a blind man in an orgy. Too lost to figure out what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to be, and where the fun is. So there was some more story stuff, and we get to the first shootout in the game. So I'm using the laser cutter, and it doesn't really seem to do much, so I just start hitting people. It's cool that you can do melee in the game, but I wasn't making a melee character. So the first fight felt a little bit lackluster because it's the first shootout of the game and I'm just going around hitting people even though I'm trying to use guns. I'm sure the game gets better, but just remember this. Just because something does get better over time doesn't mean it's still good in the end. And then, finally, I can get onto a spaceship and head to the last place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
Space!
Space, the final frontier. Goldfinger.
So, we're in space, and it looked big, as it should, because I don't know anything that's bigger than space. And then there's this point system with the ship. Basically, you take points out of something to put into something else. Like, you can take points out of your speed to boost your shield, whatever. Honestly, I don't think it's a bad system. I don't think it's great either. I would say, for me, it's a bit middle of the road. Like, it does sound cool, but then again, it's like, this is Bethesda. They're known for making good RPGs, especially RPG systems. I think Skyrim's was one of the best. And it's like, you don't even have character stats anymore. Your ship does, but you don't. I don't know, like I said, I found it a bit middle of the road, and it was a bit annoying because they explain it to you, and I get it, but then I just get attacked by enemies. So, I was pretty excited to see what the space combat looked like. And, I don't know what I was expecting, but this is definitely not it. Honestly, I have more fun playing Star Fox 64, or doing space combat in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga than I do this game. I spent 20, maybe 30 minutes just flying around, trying to find the enemies. I mean, I'm getting shot at, my screen says enemies and all this, but I have to find them. It's just so boring. Like, how do you make space combat boring in 2024 when so many other games came out before that had way better space combat? Eventually, I took the enemy out, but I had no missiles and my health was low, and then more enemies showed up. I honestly just got so annoyed. For me, I don't care if space combat gets better. If it starts off terrible, then I'm not going to invest the time to play this game until it gets good. This is Bethesda! It should be good from the beginning, and then it should get great. But I was just so annoyed, so mad. I got killed by like a dozen ships, so I tried to fly to a nearby planet. So I'm trying to figure out how to land on this planet. I know it's not like No Man's Sky, I can't just fly down, and I thought maybe it would be like Skywalker Saga where I could just press a button, but no. So I can't land on a planet while I'm outside of it. I have to go into my menu, select a planet, and then it fast travels me there, but I'm still in my ship, so I have to use the ship menu to select the planet to go on the planet. Oh, my brain is like bleeding. Okay, so let's go over this one more time. If you want to fast travel to a planet, you have to pause the game, go to your menu, select the planet. Then the game fast travels you there. Now you're outside the planet, but you're in your ship. But you're not sitting at the captain's seat or whatever it is. You're just standing. So now you have to go sit down on your ship to access the menu to select the planet again. Why? How? Like, why do you do this, Bethesda? Why do you do this? Do you not play any other video games? Do you not have any common sense? Lego, the Skywalker Saga, a Lego game outdid Bethesda. Think about that. Lego Star Wars, you're outside the planet, and a little button comes up, and it's like, do you want to enter? Outer Worlds, so much easier. It's just every other game that I know of that tackles like space exploration, planet, space combat, it's all better. Honestly, I would just rather play Lego The Skywalker Saga because the space combat is so much fun and it's easy to land on a planet. Like, the whole thing about this game, about Starfield, is going to space and you get to go to planets and stuff, and they just make it a pain in the ass to literally land on a planet. I don't know if there is an easier way to land. This is just a way that I figured it out. So if I did it the wrong way, you know what? Don't complain to me, complain to Bethesda. I'd land and there's a stupid menu asking me if I want to exit the ship, take off, or get up. Clearly, I want to land on the planet. Like, this is just so frustrating. Bethesda didn't have any issues with fast traveling in their previous games. The most you could say about like Fallout 3, 4, Skyrim is like you couldn't fast travel from the interior of buildings. I know there's like mods and stuff that could probably fix that, but aside from that, you pause the game, you go to the map, you select a place, and you fast travel there. It's like Bethesda's going backwards. To me, I think a lot of their staff must have worn the Fallout 76 pre-order power helmets, and it probably irradiated their brains, which would explain the loss of brain cells. And you have to remember, Bethesda has been making video games longer than I've been alive, and I've loved every game they put out that I've played up to Fallout 4. And I'm not saying Fallout 4 is a bad game, I'm just saying for me, I just didn't fall in love with it the same way I did with, say, Oblivion or Fallout 3. I get off the ship, there's another loading screen, even though I'm on the planet already. Then I come across some space rad roaches. I look around, but I don't see any buildings or structures in the background. The planet looks pretty barren to me. Then the game wants me to scan stuff, but I head for the building that I noticed. Seeing how this is one of the first planets I can get to, I'm assuming the game wanted me to come here. So I hit the switch and head inside. I found some enemies inside, and I tried to use the laser cutter, but they took me out in 1 or 2 shots. So I try again, and the one guy took almost a full clip to take out, and I got killed again. Now I get that I just started, my character is weak, so it's not really on the game, it's on me. But I try again, this time being more careful, and it isn't too bad, but holy shit, this game looks ugly. Combat works fine, but this feels like a PS3 game. Like, the shootouts don't feel fun. Like, look at this, I'm inside a dark, foggy building shooting silhouettes of people. I did hear that apparently there's a VATS-like system from Fallout, and you do have to unlock it later in the game. But that means for now, I felt I was better off using a melee weapon than I was using guns. Which sucks because I did not want to play as a melee character. Plus, I just wanted to play the game. And it just feels like everything I'm doing is a boring chore. So I come across this safe and it's locked, so I attempt to lockpick it. As you can see, it's different than Fallout or Elder Scrolls, which is a bit annoying because I thought those systems were perfect. This isn't bad, but isn't great either. It's easy to figure out, which means when you have to do it, it feels like a waste of time as opposed to feeling like you accomplished something. So I got bored from combat and this building, so I went outside to explore the planet some more. Then I had to talk to these guys, and the game did try explaining how dialogue works, but honestly, at this point, I just don't care anymore. The funnest part of the game so far was blowing this up. Now, maybe I did build my character wrong, maybe I was underleveled, and maybe my equipment sucked, but I didn't really have enough firepower to kill this guy, so I had to hack him to death. He didn't really fight back much either. So far, combat has been not really great. I wouldn't say anything I've experienced so far is really bad, but this is a Bethesda game. Like, there is nothing that makes me want to keep playing. There's no gameplay, narrative, nothing. There's no reason for me to really keep going. But I decided since I'm here and I'm outside, I might as well explore the planet. That is one of the big selling points of the game, so maybe that'll be fun? So at this point, I'm going to try to find higher ground. I figure if I'm up high, I can have a good look at the surrounding area and see if there's anything else I could head for or check out while I'm here. I did run into a few more pirates, but they weren't too difficult to deal with, and I did manage to take care of them without dying. So I start exploring a little bit, and the game wants me to start scanning stuff. Now, I don't think combat necessarily makes a game good or fun. There are games where outside of combat, there are fun things to do. But for Starfield, I don't want to walk around these huge planets, just scanning things. And as I'm looking around, I'm really surprised by just how empty the planet looks. I get that there's stuff I can scan, but I don't want to do that. That sounds so boring. I did find what looked like another enemy base, so I decided to head over there. So I find this elevator, I head up. Took this enemy out, he got stuck in a wall. This just ended up being another boring combat encounter. I would shoot at enemies, hide while I'm reloading. It wasn't really fun, and by the end I had very little ammo, I didn't have any healing supplies, so I figure the next time an enemy kills me, I'll just call it a day. Playing Starfield really reminded me of what I didn't like about Fallout 4's gameplay loop. You pretty much just go to places, shoot, loot, and now you can scan things. I know there's probably more to the game, but I'm just not interested in finding out. I don't really care. Now, I have heard a lot of people say that you have to put in between 40 to 80 hours for this game to get good. This is Bethesda. The game should have been good at the beginning. Why do I have to put in enough time to beat the game in order for it to get good? Skyrim started off great and kept it going. Fallout 3, I enjoyed the more I played it. Morrowind had me hooked almost instantly. And Oblivion is probably my most played Elder Scrolls game. There was nothing about Starfield that made me feel like I had to play more. I feel like I got what this game was about in like 90 minutes. And you know what? Maybe it is unfair to compare to other Bethesda games. But fuck that, Bethesda has made great games. If this was their first game, or an indie game, it would probably get like a 6 or 7 out of 10. But again, this is Bethesda. Given everything Bethesda has done before Fallout 4, you know that Starfield is beneath them. It's like watching a friend's brain slowly melt. You've seen the beauty in them, you know what they're capable of, and you love them for all of their hits and misses because you know that their good outweighs their bad. But Starfield? It's like the most middle-of-the-road game I've ever played in my whole life. I wouldn't say the game is Wind Waker level, but Bethesda doesn't have to worry about quality anymore. They're such a big company with big IPs, the next Elder Scrolls game or Fallout game is going to make money. But it's games like Starfield that really jeopardize a video game developer's longevity. At the time of recording, there is DLC set to come out for Starfield. And I just want to reference this whole No Man's Sky Fallout 76 argument I hear. Oh, the game's good now, or they fixed it, or it's playable. This is a major studio with several great games under their belt. You're basically telling me they put out a bad game and we're hoping that the DLC or further patches are going to make it good. Why don't I just spend my time and money on a game that I know is going to be good from the beginning? I get Bethesda needs to make money for their shareholders, so they have to put games out regardless of quality. I come from a business background, I understand. The way it works is the people at the top, the CEOs, whatever, they would rather make $1 million in a year than $500,000 for 5 years. They want to make as much money as they can so they can sell their stocks and their shares at a higher value than it was initially, and then just move on to another company. But the problem is that these developers or these IPs that people care about, they just get tossed to the side, and in a few years they're just dormant or gone. Elder Scrolls 6 is still set to come out, and after the success of the Fallout TV show, I don't believe Bethesda is going away anytime soon. But I do hope the DLC and any future patches for Starfield doesn't make it any better. In fact, I hope it further tanks this game. It's nothing personal against Bethesda, but I feel after Fallout 76, Starfield, and even Fallout 4, the company really needs a wake-up call. Starfield is a good example of when a video game company gets too big and doesn't really care about quality anymore. Now, if you liked Starfield, if you really love this game, that's fine. I'm not attacking you and I'm not saying you're wrong. But if you're going to throw a temper tantrum in the comments, you're probably going to get laughed at. Also, I've never said this before, but I do want people to know, I do tend to pin comments that make me laugh. Usually, they're just really bad insults, and I just find it funny how hard the person tried, but a few of them actually make me laugh. So you can say anything you want in the comments, but if it's actually pretty funny, I'm going to pin it. I just want Bethesda to go back to being the Bethesda that we all know and love. Only I would really like it if they used a modern game engine, but they won't. So Bethesda, hire me. I would be a great fluffer. That, or it might help to have a lifelong fan of your company be a part of the creative process. Just so when somebody shows a game like this, I could just look at them in the eyes, kiss their little forehead, rub their supple cheeks, and ask them, "What the fuck?" Starfield. I'm not saying it's good, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it was unnecessary. Will the real Dragonborn please stand up? Please stand up. This is the stupidest shit I've ever done.